Ohai. Jimbaran. The settlement. In the southern part of the Indonesian island of Bali. The square of the settlement -20.5 km. The population -23205 people. The region of Jimbaran is one of the most popular resort tourist areas of the island of Bali and also one of the main centers of fishery on the island. Is the northern and northeast parts of the peninsula Bukit representing the southernmost tip of the island of Bali. The square of the settlement of Jimbaran -20.5 km. His main inhabited massif is approximately in 12 km to the south from Denpasar, the administrative center and the largest city of Bali, and in 5 km to the south from the Bali International Airport Enurakra. The name Jimbaran is traditionally applied not only to actually settlement, but also concerning adjacent to him from the north and from the south of rather big site of the coastal territory. Often appears in the western sources as Jimbaran Beach. The gulf washing the coast is known as the Bay Jimbaran. Exact date of the basis Jimbarana isn't determined, however there are authentic data on continuous existence of the settlement under this name at least within 6-7 centuries. In particular, Jimbaran appears in the Bali chronicles of the 15th century. The remain texts allow to draw a conclusion on his basis of significant expansion several decades prior to drawing up the chronicle, during finding of the southern part of Bali under the influence of the Empire Majapahit. To the second half of the 17th century there were not only inhabited and farm buildings, but also at least one large Hindu temple complex here. It is known that in 1677 the local governor granted a shelter to one of the neighbors who left the principality as a result of the internal conflict together with the supporters whose number made about 1,200 people in the territory of Jimbaran. In the subsequent Jimbaran entered the territory of the Principality of Nambangan, which at the end of the 18th century, after a series of territorial increments, was renamed into Badung. This part of Bali became the area of the most fierce resistance to the Netherlands colonialists during their military invasion on islands in 1906. In the southern part of Denpasar, in close proximity to Jimbaran, there was a final and most dramatic episode of this conflict. The ritual suicide in the battlefield committed by the governor Badanga Agusti Mada Gunji and dozens of his confidants. On economic way, Jimbaran initially was the typical Bali fishing village. The first emergence in this part of the island of tourists from the Netherlands and some other countries belongs to the 1920th years. During the period before World War II here for long term certain representatives of the European and American creative intellectuals settled. Development of tourism in Jimbarana, as well as to Bali in general, was for a long time interrupted with the Japanese occupation of the Netherlands East Indies in 1942-1945, which followed a long-term fight of Indonesia for independence and long cooling of the relationship of the country during Sukarno's presidency. Revival of tourist interest in this area happened only in the 1970th years. From now on, active development here of the corresponding infrastructure began. The settlement of Jimbaran is a part of the area Yushni Kuta, who, in turn, treats the district Badung of the province of Bali. As of 2008, his population makes 23205 people, from whom 11871 men and 11334 women, only 56 families. The most part of residential quarters is located on some distance from the sea along the road connecting Jimbaran to the trunk motor transportation mains of the island. Vast majority of the population, Balinese. As well as in other areas of the island, the prevailing religion is the Hinduism. Inhabitants created 12 traditional communities, Bandit adats. The largest Hindu sanctuary of the settlement is the temple Ulong Tcv. Constructed in the 18th century, which represents not only the operating cult construction, but also the most important tourist attraction of the settlement. The fishery, which was traditionally forming a basis of local economy in general, keeps essential value for Jimbaran and at the beginning of the 21st century. A considerable part of local population is engaged with trade of fish and seafood in the adjacent water area. However, in process of development in this part of Bali of tourism, it became the key factor defining economic and social development of the settlement. Already by the beginning of the 1990th years, Jimbaran became one of the most popular places among the foreigners and inhabitants of other regions of Indonesia visiting the island. It was favored by both natural and infrastructure conditions, in particular, proximity of the settlement to Ngurah Rai International Airport and Denpasar, and also many historical and cultural sites of Bali. It is characteristic that development of tourism caused demand of local fishing trade. If earlier catches of Jimbaranski fishermen generally were on sale to other regions of the southern Bali, then now their most part is implemented on the place, in numerous points of public catering. As a result, active development was gained here by the corresponding resort and tourist infrastructure. In Jimbaran, a large number of hotels, including high-class restaurants, trade and entertainment complexes, is concentrated. This area enjoys wide popularity, first of all among fans of sea rest, including snorkeling and diving. A serious blow to the local industry of tourism was struck by the terrorist attacks conducted here on October 1, 2005. Fighters of Jemaah Islamiyah Islamist group in Jimbaran blew up 2 cafes. Practically at the same time, one more demolition was carried out in several kilometers to the north from the settlement, in the town of Kuta. Total number of the dead was 26 people, wounded more than 100 people. In the subsequent, after a series of the successful counter-terrorist measures taken by the Indonesian authorities and in process of the general stabilization of a situation in the country in general and to Bali in particular, inflow of tourists was restored. Info. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.